Okay, let's look at making shapes out of what you see. Let's first look at what we mean by negative space. Okay, there is a picture of a stool, and what I've coloured in is the spaces between the legs. That's the negative space. The same with the chair. And here you can see with two stools together. So instead of filling in the object, you're filling in the space behind. But what this actually means, if you use it, if you can look at objects in that way, then it will help you see the object. Okay, so negative space is looking at the space, not the object, but it also helps you to look at shapes and distances. So you get a better understanding of the composition, so to speak. If you've got a group of things together, you don't just look at the objects. If you look at the gap, look at that triangle, and you get that right, you know that those two objects are lined up as you see them. So it helps you place objects. So I hope that helps. What I'm going to do now is create some grapes out of, let's go for a sort of purpley colour. Okay, what I'm going to do is just do a sort of haphazard. There we go. Fill it in, leaving some paper, dropping some water in, and we're going to make a bunch of grapes appear out of that shape. So again, a bit like looking at the gaps and not the object, you're going to create the grapes out of that. Now, I want to not have to wait too long for drying time, so I'm just going to dab that off. But while that is drying off, I'm going to look at some leaves and show you how to, in fact, layer your washes in order to create some leaves. Okay, right. So let's go back, zoom in a little bit, to the grapes. So as I made those marks with the paint, I had in my mind what a bunch of grapes looks like, okay? It's like a big triangle. So, okay, we're going back now. This is the same colour, no different. It's the same. Let me slide it over a bit more so you can see. It's the same colour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, there's a grape there. It's not really dry enough, but it's okay, we'll go with it. The inevitable cat hair. There is another grape. So because I've completed the whole grape, that's going to be in front of whatever. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is make a grape there. Excuse the bleed, as I say, I don't want to have to wait too long for it to dry. So I'm just putting the grapes where I see them. That's going to be in front. So if you complete the whole grape, you're really saying, okay, this is the guy who's sitting at the front of the bunch. I'm going to have another one here, a bit smaller, because it just happens to fit that shape. And I'm going to have another one down here, because it happens to fit that shape. Now that is the same colour, one on top of the other. You don't have to change colour. Look how light it was to start with, okay? Now let's go over to the leaf department, which is very wet, but it doesn't matter, I'll dry it off. This is really helpful for you to learn about how your paints work, and also to learn how easily, in fact, you can manipulate. Just having a slurp of coffee. Because what I can do now, if I'm inclined, just dampen that brush off to tidy that up a bit. Tidy that up a bit. But remember, we're going to be going over the top again with another layer of the same colour. Look actually at the difference between that colour and that colour. Even though it is the same amount of pigment and water, one on top of the other, look how much darker it is. Okay, so still a bit too damp, but let's do it anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a leaf out of that patch of colour. And we'll make it a vine leaf for the sake of, oops, sorry, wrong colour. Ooh. Same colour. And I'm just softening that out. Ignore that blob. That was me dipping into the wrong puddle. Right, so need to let that dry off a little bit. But this is a great way of just creating something out of nothing. Oh, it's not a very good leaf, is it? Never mind, that's by the by. You have to forgive me on that one. Okay, it's Wednesday. No, it's not, it's Tuesday. See, I don't even know what day of the week it is. Okay, let's come back to our grapes then. Still a bit damp, but I'm going back. I'm going to need a bit more water because I'm just running out a little bit. But I'm going back to effectively the same colour. And I'm going to go, right, well, we've got a bit of a clash there, haven't we, where it bled. So I'm going to go now. That's just looking a little bit darker because I picked up a bit more paint, and then I'm going to go behind here. Dab a bit out. Remember, it's not just putting paint on, it's how you lift it off as well. Now I've got a nice curve there, so I'm going to create a grape behind that one. And I've re-established that shape that went a bit wonky. The reason I've got a slight variation in colour is because I mixed a bit on from there, because I hadn't actually mixed the colour for this. I was using what was in my palette. And if you want, go in and lift out highlights, or if like me you just forgot, wet an area, dab it out, wet an area, dab it out, and so on. Right, I'm going to take a bit more of that. Go behind there. And it doesn't matter if you do some of your grapes at different angles, because they don't all hang beautifully straight. There are some variations. Okay, that is still all with the same colour. So what we're doing is we are layering. Now I'm going back to the green leaves and using the same colour this time, the same puddle, and I'm going to make a different shape leaf because I want to. So there you get, you've got one layer, 2 layers, 3 layers of the same colour. Right, I'm going to go to a smaller brush now. Doesn't have to be this size, be whatever. Also remember that if you leave a puddle of wash for a period of time and it dries out and you reactivate it with water, you will have made the colour more concentrated because the water will have evaporated out, and now you're adding more water, so there will be a variation. Now I'm going to go in and do a leaf here. Not a leaf, sorry, a grape. Running out of colour, and have a little bit more water, make it go a bit further. You've got to imagine, see I made that grape there, but I've imagined the shape of it going behind the others. So you've got to do that, otherwise you'll end up with a funny shape that isn't believable. That's rather nice, isn't it? let's go over that one again. And that needs sorting out, got a stray little something or other. Okay, there's a nice little compact group of grapes. So what we can do now is we can say, okay, that's that colour used up, and it's the same colour, one layer on top of another. Okay, I'm now going to go to this violet because I can. And I'm going to go in and so I'm sticking with the same sort of colours really. So that dark makes those other shapes pop out. And then if you wish, I just grabbed some more water then. Add to the roundness. And thinking about the shadow cast by that grape onto that one because it's in front. And that one onto that one because it's on top. Just add water and spread it out. And that's starting to look rather fun. Okay, let's go in a bit darker here, and a bit darker there, and a bit darker there. Rinse my brush off, dab it on the kitchen paper and just soften that out. It's as easy as that. So you're starting to get these nice round shapes. Let's see how the leaves are doing over here. Running out of green as well. But you see, all you're doing is adding another layer. Now, if you make your initial marks more defined, then you'll have your shapes to follow. But I did that with this. I made them more defined. With the leaves, I just made a patch of green. But that is all you do. And then that is the same colour on top, on top, on top, on top. So you can keep doing this. It's quite an interesting exercise to make some shapes and then say, okay, I'm going to do 6 layers. And I've done that with colour values, because this is about colour values. It's also about getting the contrast into your work, so it's not flat and all the same colour. So I hope that helps.